Welcome to the third and final video in our antenna simulation series using Ansys Discovery. In the first two videos, we demonstrated how Ansys Discovery could be used to set up an antenna simulation. We ran that simulation, and in this video, we're going to look at some of the results that we can get. The first result that we're going to be interested in would be the return loss. To get the return loss of our antenna, we can click under Chats on our simulation tab, select the S parameters in dB, and we can look at the return loss of this specific antenna. Here we can see the resonant nature of the antenna being demonstrated at around 5 gigahertz as we expected. Once we have seen the return loss, the next thing we can look at can be the far fields. To see the far fields, I'm going to first turn off this S parameter chart by simply closing it. And then I can go all the way down here and select the visibility of the far field. Once the far field has been turned on, I can cycle through different frequencies. Remember, we had set up 3 different frequencies for our simulation under simulation options for the far field. So I can go and see the results for the 3 different frequencies. In this case, I have 2.5 gigahertz, 5 gigahertz, and 7.5. If I want to see the far field radiation pattern at 2.5 gigahertz, I just select the 2.5 gigahertz option here. And if I want to see at 7.5 gigahertz, I do the same. And each time, the far field is going to be updated. By clicking on the center wheel on the mouse, you can rotate the geometry and see the far field radiation pattern imprinted on top of the existing geometry. We can toggle this far field radiation pattern and turn it off, and also view the mesh. The mesh is now being shown here, and this is the FDTD grid where this particular simulation was solved on. Another thing we can do is to export a 3D scene from this simulation. In this case, I'm going to export a 3D scene showing the far field radiation pattern of this antenna at 5 gigahertz overlaid onto the router geometry. I'm going to first do this. I'm going to turn off the mesh and then turn on the far field pattern, and then go on the simulation tab under scenes and then export a 3D image. This image can then be saved at any directory of your choosing as a .glb file. Here's an example of what this GLB file will look like. Here is the GLB file that we exported from Discovery. You can share this as an independent file that demonstrates or that shows the far field radiation pattern of the antenna overlaid onto the Wi-Fi router geometry. We're almost concluding our series here, but one of the first questions that we sought to answer using Ansys Discovery for this particular workflow was, what is the impact of this Wi-Fi router geometry on the radiation characteristics of the original antenna? Now, to look at that and to answer that question, we would have to simulate this antenna in free space, and we're going to do just that. Here is a separate simulation for the antenna by itself. We're going to turn on the far field pattern so that you see the far field pattern of this antenna when it is in free space without the influence of the Wi-Fi router geometry. We can also see the return loss. And we see our resonant frequency being slightly above 5 gigahertz. Now back to the original problem, we can also see that the far field of the antenna is significantly distorted by the presence of the Wi-Fi router geometries. We also see under our S parameters that our resonant frequency is moved from slightly above 5 gigahertz to below 5 gigahertz. And this is antenna detuning as a result of the housing and the platform where the antenna is. This concludes our study of antenna analysis in Ansys Discovery. For more questions, please reach out to us and we'll be glad to respond and help you with your antenna or electromagnetic analysis in Ansys Discovery. Thank you and have a great day.